Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be watching a video titled Best of Stephen Fry on Religion. Yeah, this is by The Wonderful Truth, and I've watched earlier 3 videos actually for Ricky Gervais on religion. So this is another personality that also there's a compilation of video I guess here where he talked about religion. Without further ado, let's watch.
Your portion, which they gave a kind of divine permanence, that these were things that were there that were outside our control. And I think most of human history and most of myth and religion has been a question of refining our understanding of things we can't control. So when our ancestors were alone and without any building or farming yet as being an idea, we were hunter-gatherers, as the phrase is, their children looked at the mothers and fathers and they said, what is it that pushes leaves out of trees? It's something that's beyond our control. I know if I pick a stone up, the stone is picked up, but what is the power behind a leaf coming out of a tree? Happens every year. What is this fire that comes out of a mountain? What is the water that drops out of the sky? These are things over which we have no control. And so it's very natural that our ancestors gave them personality. It's the first thing we do. It's as much art and literature as it is religion to make a story out of these forces. And so you name a god of the mountain that roars fire, you name a god of the clouds and the thunder, and you have a god of nature and of growth and the harvest and one of decay, and you make rituals out of it. But then slowly you begin to understand them. And each one that you understand, the god disappears.
But this is what...
Yeah, of course, I do agree that any concept of God that come into existence due to lack of understanding of something, then when you understand it, that need for the God disappear. I do understand that. But of course, at the same time, I mentioned this also when I watched the Ricky Gervais video, right? I became Muslim, for example, for myself. I become Muslim not because of, meaning I'm convinced of God, not because of something that I don't understand. It is more so of because what I now do understand. If you learn about scientific discoveries, right? Many these scientific discoveries that shows how things are, functioning, etc. That, understanding that and knowing that is the one that makes me, the conclusion is obvious that this cannot be from nothing. This must be from a creator. Right, so it's not because of lack of understanding of something, it is because due to the understanding, especially scientific understanding, that is uncovered in the recent time of man history. That's for me at least.
And I think Plato and the Greeks understood the idea of heaven. Although they talked about God and heaven, they knew them exactly as a model, as an idea. There is an ideal to which we strive. And the Greeks are constantly striving towards something better. They don't believe, as Simon Raven, the novelist, put it, the genius of the Greeks lay in this understanding of eschatology, of the idea of a life after death. And it was put by Simon, I think, the Greek, who said, any single person who tells you that they know what happens to a human being after they have died is either a liar or a fool. It's a simple and obvious thing to say, but the Greeks had that. And
as a liar or fool, of course, that is based on the understanding or the belief that there's no such thing as creator, right? So hence you are left with that, right? We cannot say telling the truth, because what are we talking about, right? There's no such thing as life after death, creator, etc. But if you do not yet limit yourself, so that's option, liar, you're fool or crazy or something, or actually is telling the truth, right? Meaning that if you do not limit the boundary of options, there's a possibility that he tells the truth. But how do we evaluate it? We do not simply say maybe this one, we just assume this one. No, of course not. But that option, the 2 options there, is actually already limiting the options, meaning that you are already enforcing a certain conclusion prior to knowing what is the actual conclusion.
it's mysterious to us because we tribally and for hundreds of years, almost 1,500 years, struggled to have such a simple, honest, open idea. Anybody who tells you what happens after you die is either a fool or a liar.
I've read, Stephen, I've read you saying somewhere that we must believe there is no life after death.
Oh, yes.
And because we will live a very bad life unless we do believe. Because if we think that this is just a preparation for us.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
I remember being shocked, before he shocked us for other reasons, by Mel Gibson. When I know, but he was being interviewed, this is in the 80s, at the very height of his young stardom, when he was the coolest man on the planet, actually. And I had no idea that he belonged to this particularly severe Catholic sect in Australia that his father was a member of. But the interviewer said, I believe I've read somewhere, Mel, that you believe in life after death and in God. And Mel Gibson said, well, I know one thing for a fact. There's got to be more to it than this. I thought, what? What? Even if you were just an ordinary guy, to say, oh yeah, there's America, there's Australia, there's Europe, there's the Lake District, there's the poles, there's the deserts, there's the tropics, there's the bushes, there's
the galaxy, there's the universe.
But there's got to be more than that, surely. But not only that, you are a star who can have as much sex as you can eat and as much money as you could possibly demand, and you feel it's somehow not enough, you know? And this idea that, and of course, there's all kinds of obvious ways of knowing that religion, uses the afterlife and the threat of something better as a way of allowing people, forcing people to put up with what they've got. But yes, I do believe that even on...
Now, again, of course, okay, given the context, this is, conversation between those who already concluded, there's no such thing as God. Hence, it makes sense for them to, because if this is a talk to those who also having religion, right, meaning that people will say that wait, are you jumping to conclusion? But of course, the conclusion is already established with regard to God within this community. Hence, of course, this is like within that discussion within that. So I do understand. I do understand why every single statement is already based upon the established conclusion that there's no God.
On its own terms, if you believe in an afterlife, it limits this life. It's just, you've got to, as Oscar Wilde said, try the fruit of every tree of every orchard in the world. And some will be bitter and some will be too addictive and so on. But if you... And so I often say to religious people, I said, I would say, well, suppose... a Calvinist appears at the gates of heaven, and St. Peter says, so, what did you make of cannabis sativa, the plant there? Oh, I never tried that. Oh, no. Have you any idea how much effort went into making this very special plant? I'm not saying you should have nothing but you didn't even try it? Well, what about wine? Oh, no, wine touched my lips. You fucker, do you know how complex the grape is? Unique of all fruits, you don't have to add sugar for it to turn into this remarkable drink, and you didn't even bother to try it. That's such an extraordinary idea. I mean, you should, on your deathbed, you should be going, damn it, I never drank milk from the armpits of a Nepalese virgin, or whatever it is that, I don't know, that wouldn't be my particular one, but some people, I never climbed Kilimanjaro, I never, there's so much.
That's so beautifully put. Exactly right.
Now,
so I assume that is in relation to certain things that is prohibited in certain religion, that hence you never try it, right? Again, it's within the context of those who already believe there's no such thing as God, of course.
It's perhaps unfair of me as a gay man to moan this enormous institution, which is the largest and most powerful church on earth, has over 1 billion, as they like to tell us, members, each one of whom is under strict instructions to believe the dogmas of the church, but may wrestle with them personally, of course. It's a little hard for me to know that I am disordered, or again, to quote Ratzinger, that I'm guilty of a moral evil, simply by fulfilling my sexual destiny as I see it. It's hard for me to be told that.
Sexual destiny, is that a belief? Meaning, do you believe that? Because destiny, what is it? What is destiny, right? Meaning that, what is that context? Meaning, how to fit that into whatever framework that you have?
Be told that I'm evil, because I think of myself as someone who's filled with love, whose only purpose in life was to achieve love, and who feels love for so much of nature and the world and for everything else, and who, like anybody decent and of an education, realizes that in order to achieve and receive love, it's a struggle. It's not one that needs a pope to tell you how to do it. It certainly isn't one who needs a pope to tell you that you're evil. With 6% of all teenage suicides being gay teenage suicides, we certainly don't need the stigmatization, the victimization that leads to the playground bullying when people say you're a disordered, morally evil individual. That's not nice. It isn't nice. The kind of cruel...
Now, just for perspective, right? Because the context here is that for the gay community, let's say, are they considered evil? Right? And of course, this is within the context of Catholic over there, right? But if the question is posed to Islam, right? Okay, do you consider, homosexual to be evil? Now, in Islam, we are, supposed to act in certain way. So we have to separate between tendency, and action. For example, if you have a tendency to crave for certain things, leave aside homosexual, right? For example, if a guy crave to have sexual intercourse with a woman that is not his wife, that's prohibited. That is prohibited. So in Islam, acting on that is a wrongdoing, a sin, because you're committing a sin that you shouldn't do. You are prohibited from doing that. So the same goes with homosexuality. If just like that guy over there that craved to have sexual intercourse with a woman, that hence it's prohibited because you're not man and wife, husband and wife. You have craving for sexual relationship with another male, for example, right? That's also prohibited. And so that goes across the board, right? Meaning it's not like singling out homosexual, etc. There's a prohibition in many different aspects, and Allah knows, God knows why that is prohibited and why it's bad for us, etc. Right? Our understanding is limited in that aspect, right? So because some people, when they talk about homosexual as if Islam allows everything else, but no, between man and woman that's not married, it is prohibited to have any sexual relationship, right? So it's different than what about my feeling. Somehow I cannot think, I'm thinking about something, etc. So that's a different thing. The issue is, what do you do about that, right? So you are not, how to say, if that is embedded in you, meaning that if God decide that is the sort of test that is upon you, right? So knowing the truth, knowing the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the command of God, how to strive to fulfill or to comply or to submit to the command of God with all of these challenges. So that's how we see it. So it's not about evil. It's not like suddenly, you have that tendency, you are evil. It doesn't go straight away like that. You are committing a crime, you're committing sin, you are sinful, right? So it's not like suddenly anyone who have certain tendencies, certain cravings, certain whatever, suddenly judgment of evil is upon them. It's not like that.
Cruelty in Catholic education, the kind of child, let's not call it child abuse, it was child rape. The kind of child rape that went on systematically for so long. Let's imagine that we can overlook this and say it is nothing whatever to do with the structure and nature of the Catholic Church and the twisted, neurotic and hysterical way that its leaders are chosen. The celibacy, the nuns, the monks, the priesthood. This is not natural and normal, ladies and gentlemen, in 2009. It really isn't.
Okay, yeah. From Islamic perspective, like nun, like priesthood that, they don't marry, etc. That is considered as not normal. It's not normal. Hence, Islam is, suitable with fitrah, with our natural. How to say, what is fitrah? So it's very hard to directly translate, but it is, Islam is suitable for our natural, how we are created, and prohibiting you from getting married is not in line with fitrah. For example,
I'm sorry. For me to be called a pervert by these extraordinarily sexually dysfunctional people. I don't think human history has ever had more.
I assume this is half and half, because it seems that on this side, the left side, from the front, the left side seems to be reacting while the right side did not.
I have to say, this is not a problem that necessarily is permanent. I like to believe that in 10 years' time I could come back and argue the opposite. Even though I've talked about the history and the structural problems of this benighted institution, and the cruelty and the unpleasantness it has caused around the world, I have yet to approach one of the subjects dearest to my heart. I've made 3 documentary films on the subject of AIDS in Africa. My particular love is the country of Uganda. It's one of the countries I love most in the world. Been there many times. I've interviewed Yoweri Museveni and his wife Janet before, unfortunately. She suddenly saw God. There was a period when Uganda had the worst incidence of HIV/AIDS in the world. I went to Rakai, the village where it was first spotted. But through an amazing initiative called ABC, abstinence, be faithful, correct use of condoms, those 3, I'm not denying that abstinence is a very good way of not getting AIDS. It really is. It works. So does being faithful. But so do condoms. And do not deny it. And this Pope, not satisfied with saying condoms are against our religion, please consider first abstinence, second being faithful to your partner, he spreads the lie that condoms actually increase the incidence of AIDS. He actually makes sure that aid is conditional on saying no to condoms. I have been to, there's a hospital in Bwindi in the west of Uganda where I do quite a lot of work. It is unbelievable, the pain and suffering you see. Now, yes, it is true, abstinence will stop it. It's the strange thing about this church. It is obsessed with sex, absolutely obsessed. Now they will say, we with our permissive society and our rude jokes are obsessed. No, we have a healthy attitude. We like it, it's fun, it's jolly, because it's a primary impulse. It can be dangerous and dark and difficult. It's a bit like food in that respect, only even more exciting. The only people who are obsessed with food are anorexics and the morbidly obese. And that, in erotic terms, is the Catholic Church in a nutshell.
Okay, is there any more? No, right? Yeah. So that is not on religion per se, that's on specific religion. So I don't comment on that because that's specific for Catholic Church. So anyone from Catholic, background, you can respond to that if you wish. I have nothing to add on that. So yeah, with that, interesting, because this video compared to the one with Ricky Gervais, because in the Ricky Gervais video there's more points like that you can discuss whether you see it this way or this way. This one is the earlier part is already within the scope of those already established or concluded that there's no God, so there's nothing much to discuss there. Because the statement is already within that context and it doesn't come across to be discussed in broader sense, and the latter part is specific on Catholic Church. So yeah, but yeah, interesting to listen to regardless. Well, that's it for this video. If you have anyone else, because if especially for atheists, if any other video that is interesting for me to watch on religion from individuals like this, I have watched 3 for Ricky Gervais, 1 for Stephen Fry, any other individuals that have interesting perspective on things, feel free to suggest. I would like to watch. Thank you for watching. See you next time.